Hello there, Libra. Thank you so much for stopping by for your Libra Tarot Insights. Generally, these are good for around 30 days. We are going to be looking at one life cycle. I've seen a life cycle last anywhere from 20 minutes all the way up to years, but usually right around 30 days. So what we're going to be looking at is the setup for a lesson or experience. We're going to be looking at the lesson or experience of the life cycle. And we're going to be looking at what happens as you integrate that lesson or experience into your life. So for some of you, you will already be experiencing a lot of what I'm looking at today. For others of you, maybe you haven't started to experience it at all. And so it's important to just see how much resonates. If you don't have a lot resonating right now, keep your mind open for within the next few days. If some of it does start to resonate, you may want to come back to this video. But if you have a lot resonating in the first parts of the video, then you want to pay attention to the rest of the video or how the life cycle ends. La, da, da, da. Okay. So this is for Libra. I'm recording this on, what is today? Today is the 17th, which is Thursday at 10:05 in the morning, Mountain Time in the United States. I believe we're still on daylight savings time here, if that matters to any of you who watch. I know you guys watch all over the English-speaking world, so not just in the US. So, let's put down some cards for Libra, one life cycle. A lot of times our life cycles overlap with each other, so these things may apply in more than one part of your life for some of them. Probably not all of them. And you will be able to figure out which part of your life it does apply to. That might be different for a lot of you as well. Okay, Libra. First thing I'm looking at has to do with your environment. And I'm feeling like your environment right now. Well, first of all, your environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. Most times it shows up as home, but I have seen it come up as work or as school as well. So what I'm saying about your environment is that it feels like a very nurturing place, like a place where you can really do the things that you want to do. And when you come into this environment, you feel good. You feel ready. You feel inspired to do the things that you want to do. So if this is a new workplace, this would be a place where you're happy to go to work. If this is home, this is a place where when you get home, you're happy to do the things that you want to do at home. La da 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 da. Same way with school. Could be an inspired place to go to school. All right, next we're looking at subconscious leanings for the Libra. Okay, so right now looks like you in your subconscious are working on how can you take some inspired action. Now, when I talk about inspired or inspired action, what I'm talking about is action that the idea of it may have come from outside of you. It may have come from spirit or from source, but it makes you feel really good and excited and fired up. Okay, you're excited about taking this action. And so your subconscious is working on some kind of action that you would like to be taking, that you're inspired about taking. And your subconscious is working on, okay, how can I get into the position where I can actually do this? Now that can be in the realm of business, that can be in the realm of romance, that can be in the realm of the home, that can be anywhere. You guys are going to have to recognize where that's playing out for you, for each of you. Will be different for each of you. This is a general reading. All right, the next thing that we're looking at does talk to me about communication style and also learning style. Let's start with learning style. Right now, Libras, I think that you're doing a lot of observation to learn things. You're paying attention to what's going on around you. You're paying attention to how people are acting, how other people are doing things, and you're using that to kind of help to guide yourself as far as how you want to work similar situations and do similar things. So observation is the biggest part of your learning style at the moment. As far as communication, communication may not be so much direct communication. I don't know if this is talking about that you're working from home, so you're not in direct contact with people, and so you're sending out a lot of emails, text messages, electronic messages of different types. But it looks to me like you are communicating with a lot of different people. You're sending out similar messages to these different people, but I don't feel like in most cases it's so much direct communication as it is electronically reaching out. All right, and that's just as it pertains to this life cycle. Doesn't mean that's how it is in every area of your life. And we'll know more about this life cycle as we keep moving forward. The next thing that we have coming up talks to me about your work. Now, to me, work is two things, so we're going to look at work both ways. Work is that way that you make a living or that way that you feel like you are contributing to society. And then work is also those things that you're doing to improve your own inner self. Okay? So I feel like at work right now, you're really strong in what you do. You're really good at what you do. And I feel like other people come to you for advice or they come to you for ideas because you've got what you're doing. You've got your groove on. Everything is moving very smoothly for you whenever it comes to work. Now, as far as inner work, I think that your inner work right now, Libra, you're doing a little bit of inner sparring. It's like your mind is fighting with your heart, and your mind is trying to say, look, you're not being reasonable, heart. You need to quit coming up with all these crazy things and let me just focus on the reality and how things actually add up. And your heart hasn't given up on that yet. Your heart still wants what it wants. It still has the sentimental things that are coming out. And so the inner work is really finding that balance between what's logical and what's sentimental, or what are your feelings telling you. So that's really the inner work, is to find out, okay, what's that good balance there? How do I find that good, healthy balance? And isn't that healthy balance all about logic anyway? Why do we have these things called hearts? I feel like that's kind of part of the work, is figuring out, okay, what role do emotions actually play in decision making? Why do we have all these feelings if they're just going to interfere with decision making? Maybe there's a role for them there. So that's inner work. That's enough about that. I'm sure you guys are getting the picture by now if it applies to you. Now, the next thing that we're looking at does talk to me about that part of you that's being grown or expanded right now. What do we have here? Okay, so Libras, it looks like you have some goals, some targets, some dreams that you're trying to manifest into tangible reality. And what's going on is things are moving a little bit slower than what you might have hoped with those. And so really what you're learning is to relax a little bit, to let things progress as they're going to progress, and that it's not necessary to continuously push forward, but to know that everything has its own time. And once the wheels are set in motion, to allow that time to come around and let those things organically grow up and happen for you. Now, the next thing that we have coming up talks to me about those things that you stand for. So what we have with those things that you stand for is, looks to me like somebody actually gave you some kind of a gift, Libra. And when you have a gift, now a gift can take a lot of different forms. It does not have to be money or tangible things, although many times it is. But it can also be like maybe you wanted a second chance with a relationship and the other person decided to give you a second chance. I've seen that come up and show up as a gift. But there's somebody who has given you some kind of gift that you have received, and you have some people around you that have been criticizing you for receiving that gift, and I see you as standing up to them and saying, hey, you know, if that person wanted to give it to me, who am I? Wouldn't it be insulting if I didn't receive that? Who am I to turn that down? Okay, so then the next thing that I'm looking at is how other people perceive you. From the outside, other people, when they think about you, one of the first things that comes to their mind is that you think things through very well, that you don't do very much that's spur of the moment. Everything really is planned whenever you're participating in it, Mr. or Ms. Libra. Now, how other people perceive you? may or may not be true. It's just how other people perceive you. You don't have to agree with it. It just gives you some insight. So everything that we've talked about so far is the setup for the lesson or experience of this particular life cycle. Next, we're going to look at the lesson or experience, and then we're going to look at what happens as you incorporate this lesson or experience into your life. What do we have going on here? This is really interesting because I'm like having a hard time figuring out how this would incorporate and have these results with this going on. It looks like you are learning how to deal with somebody in your life who is not necessarily the most balanced person. Okay? This can be somebody who has mental stability issues, emotional stability issues. This can be somebody who has an addiction. This can be somebody who is literally abusive to you. Or, you know, if they're not literally physically abusive, this could be somebody who's mentally and emotionally abusive to you. And maybe if they are mentally or emotionally unstable, they might not realize they're being abusive to you. At the same time, you're still receiving those injuries. So there is definitely somebody toxic or a toxic situation that you are dealing with. That's the lesson or experience here. And as you are dealing with this toxic person or this toxic situation, whichever the case may be for you, Libras, because it's going to be different for all of you. This is a general reading. But as you're dealing with this toxicity, and for some of you, the toxicity is within yourself. You're dealing with your own toxic mindsets and starting to learn how to work around those. And so what happens as you're dealing with this toxicity is actually pretty cool. You've got some good stuff coming up, and that's why I'm kind of surprised. Usually when people are dealing with toxicity, that can tend to drag them down and keep them from moving forward. So it looks like here the opposite is going on. So you have figured out a way to deal with this in a healthy way, in a positive way that moves you forward. So the first thing that comes up is that things start working out better for you at work. You know, you're becoming more stable, you're becoming more reliable, you're becoming more accountable at work as you're dealing with this toxic situation or this toxic person. So maybe you found a way to deal with them in a way that impacts you less as far as whenever it comes to your working situation. The other thing that comes up is very similar. This talks about, you know, you're finding your balance. You're finding it easier to make decisions. You feel like you know what it is you're trying to accomplish, and you're making decisions that support that goal. Ultimate fulfillment of this life cycle is that as you're dealing with this toxic situation, person, thought pattern, whatever, is that you are starting to get some really good inspired ideas. Some ideas that, well, they're just showing up in this life cycle as just the beginning, just the seed, the very ideas of inspiration. Those ideas of inspiration, if they're followed through, if you follow through with them, can lead to some really great, wonderful outcomes, can lead to more financial increase, can lead to better relationships, can lead to a more stable home life, more security in your world. So it's really cool that you're getting these inspired ideas. This is the end of this life cycle, which actually starts your next life cycle. So that tells me you will be following up on some of these inspired ideas. And as you do so, things continue to get better. So it really is talking about, as you're dealing with whatever this toxicity is in your life, then you've got things really starting to get on a roll for you moving forward. And you're picking up momentum going in a forward direction here. Okay? And that includes work and personal life, both. All right? So that is your reading there, Libras. Thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by. If you would like to check out any of my private readings instead of a general reading where we can focus specifically on your energy, all you have to do is go to my website. You can see all of that information there. And you can check out my other services, see if any of those appeal to you as well. Everyone, have a fantastic, fantastic day. Peace out.